The biggest money in the world is standing for delivery. The biggest money in the world is accumulating gold when the rest of us are asleep at the switch. That's what's really different this time, is an awakening. I believe that people are waking up to the fact that they realize that this, in many respects, is a function of the policies that the Fed has embarked upon, and it is not sustainable long term. There's an old saying that it's easier to make money than it is to keep it, and I think that's what is playing into this expansion into what is a section or a swath of the public that we've never even knew existed. It's sad, but I think if you don't prepare, if you don't get out of the way of this, you're going to be swept away just like everyone else. As ultimately, I think the dollar is in big trouble. They are destroying it right in front of us. They are destroying the value of it. And if you go modern monetary theory, where you just print your way to prosperity, you go down the same road that Zimbabwe did. It doesn't work. And that's really what they're trying to do, is just use the Federal Reserve to print our way through all of our problems. It doesn't work unless there's something standing behind it. And this is the whole premise of gold backing a currency, where governments will always choose the printing press over tough decisions like austerity. It just won't happen. So this is why you own precious metals. It's not to get wealthy. Precious metals, to me, are wealth that have lived through 2 world wars and German hyperinflation and the Great Depression and every pandemic, and they'll live through this too. And this is why I think for the last several years you're seeing massive money accumulating gold, whether it be the central banks, the commercial banks, and now the heads are the sovereign wealth funds and the family offices. There's one trader right now on COMEX, one, who's long 40,000 December gold contracts. Now, this is the same group of people, in my opinion, this group that the COMEX Commitment of Traders report titles the others. They're not the hedge fund speculators, and they're not the commercial banks. They're private managed money. One trader has amassed 40,000 December contracts. They've been standing for delivery for the last year, and I believe this will also post for delivery in just a few weeks. That's 4 million ounces of gold. That's $7.5 billion in gold, with an initial margin deposit of over $350 million. Who's got that kind of money? People are waking up to that in this country. They're concerned, I think, that we're not going back to normal, that this is the beginning of a new normal. I think a lot of people, the biggest concern that I hear is I don't want to leave my money in the banks. There is a growing mistrust of the banks. No one trusts the banks. And I think that is something that I hear every single day over and over and over again. The metals market is the pimple on the elephant's ass. I mean, that's the truth. There's so much money out there that's been created. I mean, the money supply has increased almost 30% year over year. But again, let me just say what I said and I'll let this sink in. 50% of every dollar ever created in the history of the world, of this country rather, the United States, has been done so in under the last 2 years. So there's so much money out there that has found its way into equity prices and real estate prices. Price distortion and misallocation of capital creates an environment where price discovery is next to impossible. And that's what's happened with all this easy money. It's just blown things up to levels that are not justified by the underlying economy. And that's really the issue. And all of that money, all of that wealth that has been created, will look for a refuge, will look for a safe place to go. And I think that's what's happening. And it's this K-shape where the people who don't have assets are struggling to make ends meet, as food and energy and housing. Oh, wait, those are the 3 things that aren't included in the government's measurement of inflation. But those are the 3 most inflated asset classes. The things that we need to live every day are getting more and more and more and more expensive. But if you're wealthy and have assets, your assets have gone parabolic. You don't care. You're making so much money hand over fist. Yeah, you notice it, but it doesn't bother you as much. You're just trying to figure out how you keep all of those profits, when most of the country is figuring out how they can keep food on the table, keep their lights on, and keep enough gasoline in their car to get to and from work. I think these are challenging times, and I really believe will only get more challenging, not only by the policies that seem to be quickly raining down upon us, but but also we are very late in the stages, I think, of the dollar Keynesian economic experiment. And I think if you have all of your assets in dollars at this stage of the game, you are destined to go broke when this plays out. And I think that is what is spurring this widening into the mainstream. People who never thought this way before their eyes and their gut are conflicted. Maybe we should do something to protect. Maybe we shouldn't just try to ride this out into the sunset thinking that everything goes straight up and doesn't come back down. And I think there is beginning to be an awakening. These aren't the good times of the 90s where people are spending and partying and expanding. This is a different environment where people have made more money than they ever would have dreamed over the past 2 years, and it just doesn't seem right. And I think that's what's triggering it. And whenever you see a massive expansion of credit, it is followed by a contraction. And that's just, everything has to breathe in and breathe out. We haven't breathed out in a long time. We see gold and silver go markedly higher. I know Bank of America just came out and called for $3,000 gold in 2022. If you take a look at the ratio between gold and silver right now, the mining ratio, what's coming out of the ground, it's 7 to 1. 7 to 1. That's historically low. We will see demanded for 2021 over 1 billion ounces of silver and a mine supply of 800 million. We're going to be a deficit in supply of silver. Of that 800 million ounces, only 30% comes from primary mining supply, about 240 million. We see a massive expansion into green and digital. You think by 2030 they will be 100% battery powered, get rid of the combustion engine. So you see this expansion into green. The need for silver is ridiculous. And so you are seeing, I think, between policy, between moving to a green and digital world, between the destruction of the currency, the policy of the government surrounding the viruses, I think we're living on borrowed time. And heading into 2022, I think if you don't have an exposure into gold and silver and look at it as wealth, not as an investment, if you haven't already built a core position, getting it is going to be much more challenging. But if we take that $3,000, just that conservative $3,000 price target of Bank of America, we divide by 7, which is what the actual gold to silver ratio, mining ratio is coming out of the ground. That puts silver at $428. Is that possible? Well, I don't know. You tell me. If it's coming out of the ground at a 7 to 1 ratio, but right now it's valued at roughly 75 to 1, I look at it as the most undervalued asset on the planet.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.